Something extremely rare is happening again in the silver market, and almost nobody on mainstream media is talking about it right now. History shows silver has only done this 2 times before, and both times the outcome shocked the world. If you've been watching silver prices and feeling like something strange is building under the surface, you're not imagining it. What we're seeing today is the same silent setup that appeared right before massive moves in the past. This isn't hype, and it's not guesswork because the data is already written in history. The question is whether people will notice it in time or realize it only after it's too late. Right now, silver is flashing signals that most investors completely ignore until the move is already gone. These signals don't show up often, which is why they matter so much when they finally appear. In the last 100 years, silver has only entered this exact condition 2 times. Both times, the financial world was under stress, confidence was breaking, and money was quietly looking for safety. Before we go deeper, make sure you subscribe to Bullion Alert HQ and like this video right now. This channel breaks down real movements in gold and silver that mainstream outlets don't want you focusing on. If you want clear, simple explanations without noise or hype, hit that subscribe button and stay with us. It helps the channel grow, and it keeps you ahead of the crowd that always reacts too late. Now, let's slow this down and really understand what's happening here. Silver is not just a metal, it's a mirror of fear, currency pressure, and trust in the system. Every major silver move in history started quietly. There were no headlines, no alerts, and no panic at first. In fact, when silver prepares for something big, it usually looks boring. Price moves sideways, volume dries up, and people lose interest. That's exactly when history tends to repeat itself. The most powerful moves always begin when nobody is paying attention. The first time silver entered this rare setup was during a period of extreme economic pressure. Confidence in paper money was weakening, inflation was rising, and trust in leadership was falling fast. Back then, silver stayed flat longer than anyone expected. Analysts said the move was dead, and investors were told to move on. Then suddenly, silver exploded higher in a way that caught everyone off guard. The move wasn't slow, and it wasn't polite. The second time this setup appeared, the world was facing a different crisis, but the same fear. Debt levels were rising, markets were unstable, and central banks were printing aggressively. Once again, silver went quiet before it moved. People ignored it until it was already running. Now, here we are again, watching silver behave in the same strange way. Price compression, declining volatility, and heavy physical demand are all lining up. This combination doesn't happen often, and it never happens randomly. When it shows up, it's because pressure is building somewhere else in the system. One of the most important clues right now is how silver is reacting to inflation data. Instead of falling, it's holding steady, which tells us something important. It tells us silver is being accumulated quietly. Smart money doesn't chase prices. It waits for moments like this. At the same time, paper silver markets are showing stress. The gap between physical demand and paper pricing keeps widening. This is the same warning sign that appeared before previous historical moves. When paper promises stretch too far, reality eventually takes over. Another signal most people miss is how silver is behaving compared to gold. Silver is lagging, but historically, that's exactly how major silver rallies begin. Silver never leads at first. It waits, builds pressure, and then moves faster than anyone expects. Right now, gold has already shown strength, but silver is still being ignored. That imbalance never lasts forever. When silver finally catches up, it doesn't move slowly. It moves violently. This is why seasoned investors are watching closely right now. They're not asking if silver will move, but when. The silence around silver today feels familiar. It's the same silence that existed before past breakouts. Markets are calm on the surface, but tension is building underneath. And silver is sitting right at the center of that tension. If you've stayed with me this far, you're already ahead of most people. Most viewers click away before the real story even begins. In the next part, we're going to break down exactly what triggered those 2 historical silver events. And once you see the pattern, you won't be able to unsee what's happening now. The first historical silver event we mentioned didn't happen overnight. It was built over months of quiet accumulation, subtle shifts in the market, and people slowly losing confidence in other assets. Most investors didn't even notice until it was too late. During that time, every small move in silver was analyzed, misunderstood, or dismissed by mainstream media. Headlines said nothing exciting was happening, but behind the scenes, smart investors were quietly preparing for a huge breakout. The second historical silver event was even more extreme. Global financial pressure was mounting, and central banks were struggling to stabilize markets. Silver stayed in a narrow range for weeks, giving the impression that nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, demand was quietly skyrocketing. In both cases, those who understood the warning signs saw the opportunity long before anyone else. They didn't chase silver after the move started. They accumulated while others ignored it. That's exactly what makes these rare setups so important to recognize. Now, we are seeing very similar patterns emerge again. Physical silver demand is increasing quietly, while paper silver markets are stretched thin. People are confused because prices aren't skyrocketing yet. but that's exactly how history repeats itself. One key factor to watch is the global economic tension that's building. Currency uncertainty, inflation concerns, and interest rate debates are creating the perfect storm for precious metals. Silver, being smaller and more volatile than gold, reacts faster when pressure reaches a tipping point. Interestingly, silver's behavior right now mirrors the early days of those previous historic events. Price moves sideways, but volume shows subtle accumulation. Traders who pay attention to these patterns know it's a calm before the storm. Meanwhile, everyday investors are still focused on short-term trends, missing the larger picture. This is where channels like Bullion Alert HQ can give you an edge. By following the data and historical patterns, you can prepare before the move becomes obvious. Another detail worth noting is how silver interacts with gold. Historically, when silver lags behind gold during periods of market stress, it sets up for explosive moves once the pressure hits a critical point. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. If you've ever wondered why silver sometimes moves violently while gold remains steady, this is the reason. Silver is smaller, more volatile, and more sensitive to shifts in confidence. Its history shows that the biggest opportunities often come when it's the quietest. In fact, the ratio of silver to gold is another critical clue. When silver trades lower relative to gold during times of stress, smart money begins accumulation. Eventually, the ratio corrects sharply, creating massive gains for those prepared. At the same time, physical silver markets are sending another warning. Demand for coins and bars is outpacing what the paper markets are offering. When that gap becomes too big, a shortage scenario emerges, which historically has triggered massive price jumps. If you look at the charts from previous historic events, you'll notice how early signals looked almost invisible. Traders ignored them, thinking the market was quiet. But those subtle signs were the precursors to explosive silver rallies. What's happening now is very similar. The signals are subtle, but anyone paying attention can see them building. You don't need to overthink it. History gives you a clear roadmap if you know where to look. Now let's talk about investor psychology. In both historical events, the general public ignored silver until it started moving dramatically. Fear and uncertainty made people hesitant to act. Only those who stayed alert and understood the underlying pressure benefited the most. That psychology is repeating itself today. People are skeptical because silver hasn't yet made a big move, but the foundations for that move are already in place. Waiting for confirmation could mean missing the opportunity entirely. Another factor to consider is liquidity. Both historical silver surges happened when markets had hidden stress points. Physical silver supply was tight, and paper contracts were stretched thin. This created the perfect conditions for rapid price expansion. Right now, we're observing similar conditions. Paper markets are struggling to keep up with physical demand. Silver inventories are being quietly depleted, and smart investors are positioning themselves ahead of the expected surge. It's important to understand that silver doesn't need a reason to explode overnight. When pressure builds long enough, the reaction is almost automatic. History proves that these rare setups rarely fail to produce massive moves. So what should you be watching for next? Keep an eye on silver's price relative to gold, monitor physical demand, and pay attention to macroeconomic signals like inflation, interest rates, and global currency shifts. These are the triggers that historically precede huge silver moves. And remember, timing is everything. In both previous historic events, early action mattered more than chasing the trend. Those who waited too long missed the most profitable moves entirely. By understanding these signals today, you can make informed decisions without panicking. Bullion Alert HQ focuses on helping viewers see patterns like these before they become obvious to everyone else. In the next and final part, we'll reveal exactly what could happen if history repeats itself this time. We'll break down scenarios, likely triggers, and what might happen to silver prices in the coming weeks. It's the part you don't want to miss. Now we're at the point where history might repeat itself. The silver market is showing signals that demand your attention. If you followed along with Bullion Alert HQ, you already know that silver's behavior today is mirroring two rare events in the past that led to explosive moves. The first thing to understand is that silver doesn't just move because people want it, it moves because the system behind it is under pressure. Physical demand, paper market tension, and global uncertainty all combine to create a rare moment. And we're seeing that exact combination right now. Smart investors are watching quietly, positioning themselves while most of the market remains unaware. That's why these opportunities often surprise the public. By the time headlines appear, it's already happening. We also need to consider silver's ratio to gold again. Historically, when silver lags during critical periods, it sets up for a violent correction. Right now, silver is still below gold in relative terms, but pressure is building. When the move starts, it won't be gradual. Think of it like a spring that's been compressed for months. The tighter it's held, the faster it will snap once released. And silver's spring is as compressed as it has ever been in these rare setups. Physical demand is another huge factor. Coins, bars, and ETFs are being accumulated quietly, while paper markets struggle to provide enough supply. When reality meets the paper promises, prices can jump rapidly. And it's not just supply. Global economic uncertainty is amplifying the effect. Currency fears, inflation data, and central bank moves all add fuel to the fire. Silver doesn't need a headline. It responds to pressure. Look back at the two historical events. In both cases, silver remained quiet for weeks, even months, before the explosive breakout. Observers dismissed it as dead money. But then, almost overnight, the market changed, and the move was massive. Now, here's why this moment matters for you. Being aware early allows you to watch, learn, and be prepared before the mainstream realizes what's happening. Timing is everything. History shows that waiting too long means missing the most profitable moments. For those who want context, Bullion Alert HQ breaks down each of these historical events in detail, showing the subtle signs, the accumulation patterns, and how pressure builds silently before a major move. Let's talk psychology. Most people react when they see a big move, not before. That's why early awareness is a huge advantage. Silver rewards patience and preparation. Reacting late is often costly. And this is where engagement matters. Comment below if you've noticed silver behaving strangely, or if you've ever invested early based on historical patterns. Sharing your perspective helps the community see what's really happening in real time. Because here's the truth. When silver moves, it doesn't just rise steadily. The move is sudden, sharp, and sometimes shocking. Those who prepared quietly ahead of time benefit most. Those who ignore it get left behind. We also need to consider global markets. Stress in equities, bonds, and currencies often spills over into precious metals. Silver, being smaller and more volatile than gold, reacts faster and more violently. That's why watching it now could be critical. The final piece of the puzzle is momentum. Once silver breaks out of its compressed state, the momentum can last longer than most expect. Past events show that moves can accelerate for days, sometimes weeks, before pausing. So what's next? Keep watching price patterns, physical demand, and market signals. Understand that history provides clues, not guarantees, but these clues are powerful if you know how to read them. Now, if you've stayed with us this far, you're already ahead of most viewers. You understand the rare setup, the historical parallels, and the signals that could indicate a major move. Before we wrap up, make sure to comment below your thoughts. Do you think silver is about to repeat history? Have you ever experienced one of these rare setups before? Your engagement helps others learn and keeps the conversation alive. And if you found this video valuable, share it with friends or family who follow silver and precious metals. Timing and awareness matter, and sharing this information could give someone else the edge they need. Remember, channels like Bullion Alert HQ exist to highlight the opportunities most people miss. Being informed early is always better than reacting late. History repeats itself, and silver's rare moves are proof. So stay alert, stay patient, and watch closely. The signals are there, and the opportunity is real. If you act wisely, this rare moment could be one of the most important in recent silver history. Thank you for watching. Comment your thoughts, share this video. Make sure you're subscribed to Bullion Alert HQ to stay ahead of future rare market events.